Welcome, join us as we explore the mystical insights of the Blood Moon Oracle, revealing profound guidance for your journey ahead. Thank you for watching.
Good morning. Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle. I hope you guys are well today. Happy Friday. Yes, even though it's not my Friday, but it is indeed Friday. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are well. I have pulled out my Sybil's Oraculum deck for the reading today. And so let's take a look and see what the encouragement is for this Friday. I almost feel like it may not be in the line of encouragement. This may come through. I don't know what's going to come through, but let's see. Okay. Let's see what comes through. I hope you guys are well today. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel led to do so. If you are new to the page and you're just stopping by, or maybe you've seen a couple of readings and you feel like subscribing today, hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time we post content. What is the issue today, Spirit, that we need to focus on? Detachment comes through. And why is this the issue? Why is this the issue we're focusing on today? Because of rage. Rage comes out. Oh. Okay. So detachment is the issue. The cause is rage. Maybe there's something that has us a little bit too much in our emotions, maybe. And yeah, needs detachment. Maybe it's causing imbalance. Okay, what is the solution? What's the suggestion? So detachment is the overall energy. Avarice comes out as a suggestion. And what is the outcome of this situation? That's too many. The outcome of the situation today. Wisdom. So we get to walk away with a bit of wisdom here, right? And it's almost like a wisdom tree. There's a serpent that's on the tree, lots of things that are hanging from the tree, kind of like fruit, right? And so the overall energy of the reading was detachment, separation. So let me take a look and see what this energy is telling us. Because there's something about needing to really detach from the situation, maybe even take our emotions out of the equation. At least that's what I'm thinking of when I think of the word detachment. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Detachment. I hope you guys are well today. What you got going on this weekend? Anything exciting? Hopefully it's something that'll keep you out of trouble. Lots of trouble in the air right now. Lots of ways to get into things that I read a meme online today, and it was like, have fun this weekend, but understand it is a 3-day weekend. So if for some reason you end up behind bars, just know that the judge will not be there on Monday, right? You're going to be in there. It's going to be a 3-day segment for you because the judge won't be back till Tuesday. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know why I can't find. Oh, there we go. I don't know why I missed that so many times. So it talks about loss, okay? Detachment, loss as an investment in our peace, right? And the fact that defeat is an illusion, it's illusory, okay? And detachment is necessary. And as we look at this picture, it's a picture with pieces of a rose that's broken up into pieces, symbolizing dispassionate thinking and detaching our head from the heart. And this is actually, when we look at the mythological association or the religio association, we're talking about Hecate. If you know who Hecate was, it was a goddess of the wilderness. She also dabbled or mastered magic and may have been considered, a witch as well. But see, she was associated with isolation in the underworld and maybe, dabbled into the dark parts of her existence. And so this is all about not allowing ourselves or pulling back so that we don't obsess and completely let go of any emotional attachments that keep us stuck to a situation or whatever's at question today. Okay, detachment. There's several different parts, right? I feel like that's associated with the issue today. And it's necessary to release ourselves from them. This is really an action card that's directing us to do something particular, right? That's the situation at hand today. This is advice coming in for whatever the issue is that we're dealing with, Spirit is leading us to immediately assess and take action here and detach. And this part of the action cards is all about our internal mindset. So if you have a question that you're dealing with today, you're wondering how you should approach it, Spirit is saying to detach from the situation before acting, especially if it's something that requires an act. This is detaching from it. So maybe that you can see it, see all parts of what really is involved in the situation. Okay. So detachment. This is an action word, or what's being advised before taking action. It really is dealing with the mentality of how we are existing in this moment, to detach from it. Let's see what this is that we're detaching from before we move on with the reading. What is it that we're being asked to detach from? So we have the Apprentice of Coins, Seven of Wands, and the Crown of Vessels. So it almost feels like we're dealing with Pentacles energy and Pentacles with the Apprentice of Coins. It's kind of like Page energy, right? And this is dealing with ideas that are springing forth, new ideas or opportunities, and the ability to move in a different direction or pour our energy in a different way, move in a different direction. And Pentacles are not fast moving energy. There's no rush to take on what is possibly before us right now, whatever opportunity or whatever thing we're being asked to invest in or prepare to commit to, right? We're being asked to detach so that we can see all of the moving parts. And maybe even take a look at what may not be feasible, what's illusion and what's real. This is also having the opportunity to deal with things like imposter syndrome as well, and prepare ourselves, truly root and ground ourselves and prepare ourselves to take courage and an opportunity to nurture those areas that need attention as well. But this is overall is reaching some potential to improve ourselves. Okay. We also have the Seven of Wands. So there's something about protection here as well. Holding on to our conviction of some particular point of view that we hold. This may be something that has taken a toll or could possibly take a toll, especially if it becomes a very strong point of contention involving others. We may find that we feel at some point like we're backed in a corner. You may feel that way already. But the Seven of Wands is really allowing you to stand your ground and hold fast to what you believe with an open heart, right? And an attitude of being open minded. There may be things that we can learn in this situation. This is also by living by example, possibly allowing yourself to see things through other people's point of view. This may have something to do with being able to walk in someone else's shoes for a minute so that you can dismantle some kind of belief that you're holding on to. Overall, the Seven of Wands is all about being challenged by others and, being in a position and ready for the test, being ready to stand your ground, but at the same time being open to learn from someone else's point of view, or being able to see or experience something outside of your normal way of believing how things should be. And then lastly, we have the Crown of Vessels, which is the King of Cups, usually in the normal deck. It's the King of Cups, being very emotionally mature, or this is what's being led to this energy. There is a bit of wisdom that we are guided to learn through detachment, is leading us to some level of maturity, or to be able to master communication and how we bring things into being. This is also about aligning our heart with our passion, with the sharp mind that we have, and to be able to keep a balanced energy, balanced perspective, balanced movement that can be relied upon. Okay. And so there's something that is being experienced here through each encounter, especially this one that we're being asked to really detach from and see every piece of it. We're learning how to handle ourselves and others with a sense of diplomacy or integrity. This is also learning how to deal with very raw feelings. There may be some things that are digging deep inside of us with this, whatever we're experiencing, that Spirit is asking us to pull back and detach from. Maybe even having an opportunity to alchemize this into something that we do want. But it's all about using this opportunity to move forward and to do it sensibly, gently, also even maybe encouraging others on the way. That's what this energy of detachment is. Now, when we look at rage comes out as well. Now, rage is what has caused us to be asked to detach. There's something about rage coming out here. And let's see. I almost feel like this could be some level of projection. Yeah, it is. And when we look at projection, we're talking about energies that reflect the justifications or rationalizations in our mind that may sometimes prevent us from seeing core issues. They are sometimes masks that we wear or excuses that we place over the truth. And if we are not able to remove them, or if we're not able to work through these energies, they can potentially cause, some level of suffering and possibly even hardships that come about. And so for this one, it is about rage. And this is coming across as kind of like an eternal flame that commemorate honorable or dishonorable things commemorated in a void. And so the chimera was a fire-breathing female monster in Greek mythology with a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. The Romans also represented the creature in their art as the most terrifying of beasts. Though her symbolism is debated, it is highly likely that she represents the desecration of the divine mother, especially the darker warrior aspects of the goddess, as a precursor to the patriarchal religious traditions that would dominate the world. Principally, this is because all the animals who composed the chimera were sacred to countless goddesses throughout Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean. And her symbolism is used here to warn against blind, destructive rage. Okay, this is why it's necessary to detach, because we may in fact be led to a place that will be destructive, not only for ourselves, but even for others as well. When we look at the mythological association or the religio association, it connects to Menhit, which was a Nubian and a Kemetic goddess of war, very ferocious aspect of Sekhmet. If you know who Sekhmet is, I have her right back there on my altar, right here, Sekhmet. And she was a defender. She was actually associated or assimilated by the goddess Mut. She was a defender of women and children. And yeah, very ferocious. She was a beast and she didn't play. And she was feared as well. She carried a justified rage for the unjust circumstances that existed in a particular time and place. And so the fact that we pulled this card as the reason why detachment is coming out, there's some indication that there's hurt that's present, a deep level of hurt, and someone may be using rage as a way to cope with the pain that is surging deep within. And so the first thing to do is to recognize what that hurt is. That is just hurt. And maybe even if possible, to stop focusing on the anger itself, but to deal with the core issue. Why am I hurting? What is hurting me? And deal with the core issue of that thing so that we can move forward in life in a healthy and productive way. Because as I was stating, rage has the ability to really infuriate and destroy and cause destruction. Okay? And it may not be a justified destruction, right? It may be something that is really inflamed out of the pain that we're not able to really deal with or handle in an appropriate way. So let's see what this rage is all about. What is this rage about, Spirit? What has caused this rage? What is at the core of this rage in this reading that we're dealing with here? Somebody feels like they have been wrong. Justice comes out. And the Ace of Wands. A new beginning. And so there's something about maybe feeling like a wrong has been done, or there's some mistreatment or unfair situation that has taken place. Okay. And the Wheel of Fortune. I almost feel like someone feels like the universe is against them. Someone feels as if the universe is actually against them. Because when we look at justice, we're talking about the energy of truth, consequence, judgment, and handling those things. Sometimes truth can be handled like a sword, right? We can choose to brandish it or we can choose to hide it, but it'll always come out eventually. Sometimes we try to bury it and someone comes along and digs it up. So there's something about the truth being revealed here. Maybe somebody didn't want the truth to be revealed. They didn't want their truth to be exposed. And so there's the energy, there's always the choice of deciding how we're going to deal with a thing, a situation. We always have a choice on how we're going to deal with any situation, always. And especially when it comes to loss, right? There's always a decision on whether or not we will release it or even allow higher powers to deal with the unjust situations so that we don't further lose by making decisions that will create negative consequences. And then there's other times where we do need to pick up the sword and handle it justly, right? So there's something here about having something revealed. Having something revealed. I don't know if it's something that wasn't supposed to be revealed or it wasn't desired. The revealing of it wasn't desired, but the Ace of Wands is almost like a new opportunity, a new chance, a new inspiration presenting itself, new opportunities sprouting forward. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune. So I don't know if someone feels like there was some unjust act that has taken place. Because the Wheel of Fortune talks about things unfolding. It even talks about the energy of karma. And it's almost like the energy of cycles, karma, chance, fate, fortune, right? Someone may feel like there was something that was done unjustly or some misfortune that happened, right? And this could have something to do with a fire sign. That's a fire energy, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo. The Wheel of Fortune is Sagittarius, and the Justice is actually Libra energy. So it could be a Libra, Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries in the situation here. So in the advice, we have avarice coming out. Avarice coming out in the advice. And so avarice is all about being, and this is coming through as a suggestion, what Spirit is advising, right? Avarice, to be open. The avarice describes a nude soul being like a best measure of adoration, right? Being open, transparent, vulnerable. A lot of people tend to think that that's a weak quality, but it actually is one of the strongest qualities that you can have. Because what it says is that you trust yourself enough. Not necessarily that you have to trust others, but you trust yourself that you're strong enough to stand without having to wear a mask, without having to cover yourself, without having to really put on any pretense of being anything other than what you truly are. And in this picture, there is a vessel that's cracked, right? And it's almost like the symbol of the cracked vessel is representing a desire, a quick desire to have something. It could also represent greed as well. So when we look at the religio or the mythological association, we pull up Cronus. And Cronus was a pre-Hellenic god of time known for his destructive and all-devouring force. And his Roman counterpart was Saturn. So when we look at Saturn, we're talking about structure, discipline, right? Rules, order. Saturn is really all about having things done a certain way. And so that's Cronus's counterpart. And so when we get this card, this could be advising to be careful, not to overdo or to actually seek more than what's necessary for what is needed or what is necessary for us to be satisfied. We are being advised to realign with what is most important right now and make sure that our beliefs and how we do things, how we act, reflect what we believe. This card could also be warning us against imposing our principles and our standards onto someone else, and just really respect the fact that their needs may be different than ours, not to push our beliefs. And what I like to say, because I used to be a very religious person, my convictions are mine, right? Don't try to live by my convictions. Those are mine. You create and live by your own convictions, right? And so this is kind of like what this is saying, but from a personal perspective, don't try to force your convictions on someone else because they may believe something totally different than you do. This is the suggestion coming in today. Okay. And then the overall outcome of this situation of being able to detach and see every piece of this puzzle, right? See every piece that's in operation. It's not just one part that we need to focus on, but there's several moving parts here at play. And then addressing the core issue at hand. It could be that someone has been, has suffered some injustice. It could be that someone feels like something has been done not in the best way, right? There's some misfortune that's been suffered here. And there's rage that has resulted from that. However, Spirit is asking us to take a look at the core, take a look at where that comes from. Because more than likely, when we get mad at things, it's usually a compilation of things. It's not even what has happened in the moment, but it's usually a buildup. That thing that we're mad at usually goes back to a deeper issue that started how we feel about it, right? And Spirit is asking us to take a deeper look at where that rage comes from. Where does that come from? Where did that start? And why does that make you so upset, so angry, to the point where you become engulfed in this sense of flames, right? To the point where you're willing to destroy some stuff. That's the energy here. And then the suggestion and the advice is to be open, be vulnerable, avarice, be a nude soul, right? A nude soul is best adorned, is what the card really, it's almost like the poetry of this energy, is to be open and to not really be greedy. If I could just be blunt, don't be greedy. There's something about this card, avarice, when we talk about Cronus, it's almost like, I need this and that, and I want to take over the world. I just want to do everything and have everything my way, but Spirit is saying there's no need for that. Just take what you need, and if you find something doesn't align, then that's just what it is. You can't really force your way or your beliefs on others. That's never going to work. Right? It's never going to work. Even sometimes we can resort to not just anger and force, but sometimes we resort to other manipulative tactics to try to bring things around to how we want them. Some people will use magic to try to do it, but who wants to do that? Who wants to have to constantly do things to keep things in line? That gets tiring, right? And so if it doesn't align naturally, then that says that maybe that's not meant for me, and chances are, even though I may be able to bring it into alignment through magic, through other means of manipulation, how long will it stay that way? Will it be worth all of the effort that I'll have to continuously put in to keep it that way? Why wouldn't I pour that effort into something that's aligned, that will bring more contentment, more fulfillment, more joy, more ease, less work? And so there's something about avarice that's just helping us to really come to grips with that truth, okay? And then in the outcome, we have wisdom. There's a lesson that's being learned here today for us. And that may come across for each of us in a different way. But if this is resonating, then there's maybe something that we can learn here today, something that Spirit is talking to us about. Now, before I pull up wisdom, I am going to go ahead and find out what this transparency is, even though it was really self-explanatory. Avarice. Clarify that for us. Okay, I'm going to take what comes out. So we have the Eight of Swords, the Lovers, and the Seven of Wands. Okay, and so dealing with restrictions, maybe around relationships, around love, around ourself, how we view ourselves, how we connect and embrace ourselves. The lovers is not just about an outward connection, but it starts within. It starts with wholeness within first, right? So that we can establish healthy, whole relationships outside of ourselves. Possibly, if we're not able to do that, that would direct us back inwardly to fix whatever is not really whole within, right? So that we then can develop good relationships outside of ourselves. The Seven of Wands is really being protective of the fire that we carry. So there's some limitations I feel like that we are releasing ourselves from. Maybe even some things that we're opening up about. Spirit is guiding us to be more vulnerable about when it comes to our connections. Someone may have a belief that they need to restrict themselves in some type of way. Someone may have a belief that they're not free. The soul may be craving freedom, but there's some belief that's restricting us from being as free as we desire to be, or that would be beneficial for us on a soul level. Because there's a lot of defensiveness coming through here. And so it may have something to do definitely with the heart. Definitely with the heart. And I feel like everything leads back to the heart. Everything. That's what I've come to understand and find out about myself, like everything. And there's a scripture that says out of the heart flows the issues of life. And oh my gosh, that's an understatement. That is so true. Even when we talk about sickness in our body, sometimes it's a heart condition that has created that sickness, right? If it's true, as above, so below, in the spirit, so it is in the flesh, right? Everything leads back to the heart. And sometimes just on a whim, I feel called, even before I stepped into the spiritual world, I call them heart checks. It's always good to stop and do a measure to find out what condition your heart is in. Because that may in fact be keeping you from living your best life, keeping you in stagnant energy. That may be in fact hindering things that you should be experiencing, right? And so, yeah. Now to jump into the overall reading energy that will pull out the overall outcome is what I meant to say. We have wisdom here. And of course, that's really self-explanatory, but we're going to get it from our oraculum perspective, okay? What that is, that we will be walking away. Or what we're pulling out of this experience right now is wisdom. And wisdom is more than just knowledge, right? It is knowledge that we're able to implement, like we're able to apply it to our lives and actually integrate it into how we're living. It's not just information that sits in our minds, but we actually activate it and integrate it into our lives. Okay. Let's see. And wisdom is one of the core cards that support the reflection and the essentials of spiritual principles that we really desire to reflect on a deep level. Like I was saying, everything that we deal with has a source. Like this rage that we're talking about, there's a source. And it's always something, and if it's not in the front of our minds, it's always in the back of our minds operating and telling us how to interact or how to respond to things, right? And so when we look at wisdom, we're taking a look at one of the core issues, if I can say that, that identifies where there may be a fracture or a miscalculation in logic, maybe it is that we are not operating deeply enough in what we know. Maybe that's the issue. There's a need to intentionally put into practice what we know. Okay? Does that make sense? Intentionally put into practice what we know. It's advisable even to set aside any type of defensive emotions like anger, denial, or self-loathing, self-depreciation that may come up, and send messages, because those are things that are going to be contrary to the purpose of any type of clarification that we're receiving. And so wisdom, I'm sorry, let me go back. And this is said to be, it's like wisdom is effortlessly applied knowledge, like we were saying, right? It's knowledge applied. And on this card, we have, like I was saying, the tree of life. I knew it was a tree. And it represents the spiritual bridge between earth and the heavens. And it reminds us that wisdom is accessible from the macrocosm to the microcosm. Though one is bigger than the other, they are still the same in composition, right? We look at the ocean, which is vast and huge, and a glass of water on our table may be small and limited, but they both consist of oxygen and 2 parts hydrogen, right? The duplex knot on each of the sides of these trees, there's 2 duplex knots on the sides of the tree. This represents these wisdom. Yeah, that's what that represents, wisdom. And it's a symbol that has been ubiquitous throughout the cultures of the world since the Stone Age. And it predates back and is later identified with the Celts or King Solomon, which was known to be one of the wisest kings in the Bible, right? And here in this picture, it's really used to reinforce the message of inextricable links between all things. When we look at the mythological associations or the religio associations, we're pulling up energies from Anup, Anatha, and Neith. One was the moon goddess of Libya with 3 aspects of Athena, which is the new moon, and Metis is the full moon, and Medusa the dark moon. Of course, Medusa represents wisdom and protection as the queen of the Amazons. And then we have the worship of Anatha, which spread to Kemet, while only her new moon aspects as Athena was accepted in Greece. Her dark warrior aspect was Hellenized as a hideous monster that turned men into stone, Medusa, right? They always have a way of turning what's powerful into something wicked, right? And so wisdom is evolutionary, and it is being one way, reaching the limit of that way and making a new way, then integrating all ways as a situation demands. There's no shortage of intellectually brilliant people in the world, but the wise are few and far between. I'm going to read that again. There's no shortage of intellectually brilliant people in the world, but the wise are few and far between. The ability to absorb, regurgitate, or cleverly manipulate information has nothing to do with a person's ability to apply what they know to their daily lives. There are many who think age, formal education, or enduring challenging situations makes one automatically wise, but no one can deny the existence of old fools. My mom used to say that. There's nothing like an educated fool, like an old fool, or educated idiots, and the impoverished souls who have failed to integrate their hard-earned lessons for their maximum benefit. Because it is common to associate wisdom with certain occupations, we tend to give these people a hard time when they make silly mistakes and have known better. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, and things just don't work that way, right? And so This is all about integrating the lesson. So, what situations, right, are really a waste of time? These are questions that we may be asked to consider when we look at wisdom. Stop and take a moment and ask ourselves, how are we wasting time? And when we find that we have, are we willing to forgive ourselves for it? If not, then when will we? When will we let it go and detach from it? Do you expect other people to be wise just because you got the point? Just because you've learned the lesson, right? Going back to that avarice, being able to understand other people's point of view without imposing yours on them. It may be time to take a look at that. Are we able to take advice from people that may or may not have direct experience on the matter? Okay. So it's just some things to think about in today's lesson, today's reading, today's encouragement, today's advice. Are we looking at situations and prejudging the possibilities, or making excuses, or dismissing it with the what ifs because we want to avoid anything that would cause us to suffer in order to grow? Are we exhibiting energies of insanity, right? Repeating lessons over and over and over, expecting a different result? Do we feel like we're too old to learn, to grow, too educated, or too tired, right, to learn more? Those are questions that we can ask ourselves as we consider what we've talked about here. Okay. Thank you so much for stopping by and allowing me to read for you. This has been a reading from Blood Moon Oracle. My name is Letty, short for Leticia, and we have brought you a lesson from the Oraculous Oracle deck and our Transient Light Tarot deck. Okay. And until next time, let me know how it resonates. This may resonate, it may not. Don't try to make it fit. As I always say, it's for somebody. It may not be for everybody, but if it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, maybe the next one will. Okay. All right. But there's always something to learn for us here. And so thank you for stopping by, and I'll talk to you guys next time. All right. Bye.